Hello everyone, I'm Yulia Kosarenko. I lead BA Mindset Mentorship Circle, a weekly meetup of business analysts discussing various topics related to being a business analyst, developing careers, and being successful in their jobs. Our circle is on break during this month of March. However, I'm taking this time to address some of the questions that sometimes come up in our meetups, and perhaps we don't have time to answer all of them. So today's question is regarding a BA portfolio. I'm a huge advocate for business analysis portfolio or any professional portfolio, which is like a collection of artifacts that you created throughout your career that you can showcase, especially in an interview. You can use portfolio to illustrate your answer, to show what you can do, to explain what you've done on a specific project. And basically, it's an illustration of your experience and your competence. And if you can explain this well, it can really, really play a huge role in you being hired, in you being memorable, in standing out among all those other candidates. Now, I did receive this question recently. Well, I've been to a couple of interviews and they didn't want to see my portfolio. So I do want to address an important part of this is that, of course, not all interviews go well, right? So on one hand, if you are in the job interview, you're observing the general trend. Perhaps there is no fit. You're not clicking with that person, or maybe they were looking for someone else, or you're too experienced, or you're not experienced enough, or they actually not really want to hire. Maybe they're just doing an interview, but they already have someone in mind internally. There's very many situations where the interview is not going to succeed, even if you try very hard. And in that case, your interviewer may not actually want to do anything extra like seeing someone's portfolio. But putting that aside, I want to address the other part. Who is the right audience for your BA portfolio? Which interview is the right interview where you can actually use it? So that's the important part. Okay, so remember that the interview process is a sequence of meeting with different people. You may start with an interview with a representative from HR or recruitment agency. And they are probably not the right audience for your portfolios, unless it's a very specialized recruiter who actually understands the job. But that doesn't happen that often, right? Often the recruiters just read the job description, they do the basic matching, or now they use AI algorithms to do the matching for them. They will not necessarily understand the portfolio or be able to value it. So the right audience is your hiring manager, the person who actually will need to evaluate your work, the person who is interested in knowing whether you can do the job most. So when you get to the interview with the hiring manager, or sometimes it's a peer group where a manager and a couple of other team members, or a panel, that's where you can offer to show your portfolio, especially if they ask you a question that pertains to a certain situation on a project. For example, how did you deal with a situation where your stakeholders had conflicting requirements? And while you can talk about communication and listening and all that, that's great. But there are actually business analysis artifacts that help you resolve requirements conflicts. For example, you can create a decision tree or scenario matrix or flow chart, and those diagrams and artifacts or matrices can actually pinpoint where the conflict is and help resolve it. And at that moment, you can say, I do have an example of a scenario matrix I created for a previous project. Would you like to see it? Because that's what I think sometimes is very useful in these situations. That's the right moment for your portfolio. You're showing it to a person who understands what business analysts do, who understands these situations they're asking about, who will know what to expect from a certain artifact, who will be able to judge its quality and how it's executed, and who will be able to see whether when you explain in this artifact, you actually know what you're talking about. Because of course, you could download all kinds of diagrams from the internet, but then they may not be relevant, or you may not be able to use them at the right moment. And what you really should do is create the artifacts yourself, make them relevant, be able to explain them. And that's what makes a big difference in a job interview. Okay, so the message for today is know what is the right audience for your portfolio, and that's where you offer to ask permission and offer to show something and try to explain it. But make sure you explain it really quickly in 30-40 seconds, no more. Practice talking about your portfolio artifacts, and that goes a long way to you being much more successful in your job interviews, especially as a business analyst. I hope this is helpful. I will be running a BA portfolio building training in April. We will be creating important project artifacts such as business use case diagram, context model, process flow, and artifacts such as stakeholder matrix and RACI. If you're interested, I'll post information in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.